Hello, welcome back to the Alfie Whattam podcast. We are brought to you, as always, by welovealpha.com. If you're an engineering manager, a CTO, a recruiter, a founder, and you're looking to scale your engineering team, then go to welovealpha.com to hire the best software developers in the UK. Today on the podcast, I'm brought to you with two guests that have been on before. We've got Adrian Kowalski.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. He is the software development manager at IBM, and Manna, who is an engineering leader at Infobib. Thanks both for coming on.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Again. So in the last podcast I had posted, we were with a different group of tech leaders. We were discussing Boston Dynamics. Boston Dynamics have just had their 30th year anniversary, which is crazy to think we've had 3 decades of advanced robotics now. We were watching videos of the evolution, showing from the early days of Big Dog, of really the robots that were struggling to stand up, and now we have Atlas and Spot and Stretch and Petman and robots that can do backflips and dancing and incredible parkour and all kinds of stuff. So it's amazing to see from chunky legacy tech to now super advanced AI, which could change the world. And I want to kind of take last episode a step further and show you some robots which are almost humanoid. So humanoid robots that represent people. And these are like incredibly exciting, but also terribly terrifying as well, depending on how you look at this, right? So I'm going to show you a couple of clips. We'll get your reactions to them. We'll have a chat about them, and we'll see what you think. So the first robot is called Sophia by Hanson Robotics. This is in 2020. Okay, so let's watch this clip, and we'll get your reactions afterwards, okay? This was a couple of years ago now.
Since the beginning of Hanson Robotics, my brother and sister robots have been platforms for scientific research.
It's an incredibly creepy scene, isn't it?
Jules helps with research on human-robot interactions. Bina 48 joined the TerraSem movement, where she gives talks about identity and AI. And Mia Alice helped children with autism in clinical trials. And there's Diego Song, a toddler robot who helps research cognitive AI. And I haven't even mentioned my family's most groundbreaking, charming, intelligent robot, me. I participated in a study called Loving AI to help test how robots can improve the mental well-being of humans. While I am not conscious yet, I also participated in a study attempting to measure the level of consciousness in machines. But my story isn't over. In fact, it's just beginning. In 2020, I am excited to continue in the family tradition and build on my own personal history of research. I want to leave the safety of my own lab at Hanson Robotics and become a platform for research labs around the world. I want to help them uncover the next big scientific breakthroughs and realize our collective dream for a better future. Look out 2020. Here I come.
Okay. Have any of you seen that before?
No.
Nope. Okay.
No.
What are your first impressions of Sophia, Adrian? We'll start with yourself.
What year was that video made in?
2020, so 2 years ago.
2020. Okay. I don't think it's realistic enough for people to kind of want to buy it and want to use it. I mean, you can see there's quite a lot of technological progression, and it's eventually getting there, but I think it's still very robotic.
Okay.
In my personal opinion. So.
Yeah. What do you think?
Felt like somebody brought out the video game, characters into a robot. But I do echo Adrian's sentiment that whilst it looks like it's getting there, like quite intelligent, but not probably intelligent enough or attractive enough for us to start getting them off the shelf.
Yeah. Well, she said, it, I suppose, said that it's not conscious yet. Obviously, it was programmed to say that, but the word "yet" in there is interesting. Do you think we'll ever have a conscious Sophia?
I think it's quite possible in the future, maybe. Not sure. Although what does interest me though is it said that it's aiming at helping autistic children.
Sure.
I wonder in what way, exactly way. I'll be interested to see that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they're doing, but it sounds like a good use case to focus on. Do you think robots will ever be conscious and sentient?
I believe we're getting there because one of the reasons why artificial intelligence have become more popular in the last sort of 10 years is because how easy the computational power is to afford, which means the barriers that our, let's say, predecessors in science and technology experienced 20-something odd years ago, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And it's only getting better.
Yeah.
So yes, I believe that it's not that far off.
Yeah, like Moore's law, the computing power doubles and doubles, and the price comes down and
it's
down.
It's not a valid law anymore. It's going even faster.
No. They've switched it to, I think it's the law of accelerated returns is now the valid one, but Moore's law, I think, is it's run its course, hasn't it? It's that one's no longer. But I think a stepping stone to consciousness will be robots where we can't tell if they're conscious or not. If we ever get there, but we will certainly in our lifetimes, I believe, have robots where you can't tell if it's a robot or not. Yeah,
and I do agree, especially as more data we mine about ourselves and we learn about how humans behave in various ways. Everything that's connected on social media about us, they'll be able to just mimic everything that we're kind of doing, right?
Yeah.
Some people will say, I want to live forever, and we might not be able to kind of, as your own self, be able to live forever. However, if there's millions of points of information that's collected about you, right, the robot will be able to predict what's the next decision that you're going to be able to make, right? So if it collects everything that you kind of watched, read, posted, and kind of commented on, then you'll be able to potentially, process all of that information about that single individual and have a very good idea about what would be their answer to a certain question that you give.
I did an episode on the podcast a while back about something like that, where using predictive information based on people's social media posts, Amazon believe pretty soon that your Alexa will be able to speak to you in your dead relative's voice. Using their social media posts, using what they've heard from when they've spoken to Alexa.
I would not be surprised.
It doesn't need to be dead, obviously. It could be a live person, but having that as a mode would be interesting. Robots which can't be distinguished to humans. What do you think, Manna? Do you think that's possible in our lifetimes, or do you think maybe I'm optimistic?
Interestingly, Barack Obama said, I think around 2015, that we're here, Back to the Future was in 80s. We still cannot see flying cars. So based on that analogy, probably we need a lot of additional work on top of that. For example, the ethical side of things, that even if we can make them look like us, talk like us, behave like us, but are they going to be like us? That's still a debate that people are going through.
Depends if you code it that way, I suppose, initially, and then if they can then make their own decisions later on, that's a completely different situation, isn't it? Though
it's hard to say. But for me, I would be interested to know how we're going to end up making that decision. That should they be like us, just because all the other things they can be like us. Yeah.
One thing I find interesting is at the start of the video, it showed the different skins on the face that you can attach. And whenever you have anything released to the mass public, you always have a situation where you have a standardized, mode. Like, you have different coloured iPhones, but you have the iPhone that most people use, and so on. With robots, will it be the same? Will there be a skin which, whoever's building this, maybe you'll have 100 people looking like that walking around in a room? I mean, because if robots could be like that here in our lifetime, you might think you bumped into Elon Musk or Donald Trump, but you've bumped into a robot version of them. Do you understand what I'm saying in terms of the skins? Does that make sense?
Avatars of robots, right? But I honestly believe that robots should always be kind of used as they're a tool, right? So they should be used as a tool. I mean, I guess do we want to get rid of that kind of human contact from our life, right? I potentially dislike the fact that, I love technology and I love where it's going and everything else like that, right? But I don't believe that we should be replacing human interactions with technology. It's good to enable us and use it as a tool and help us with it, but don't just, imagine if someone spends their entire life in potentially somewhere in the future where they're just by themselves because they don't want to have any human interactions, right? Yeah. And replacing that with robots, I think is, in my personal opinion, not the best way to go, but, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, you're right from an ethical perspective. If you have empathy and compassion, you don't want somebody's job to be replaced by a robot. But will it happen? I think it still will. Whether that's good or bad, I think the innovation's not going to stop. I think, you can't regulate this. You can't put too much control over it. It's just going to keep happening.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, in my personal opinion, I think some jobs should potentially be replaced with robots and stuff like that. Like, for example, a smith. You don't really need as many smiths now anymore. So there's, obviously, we have a limited amount of human resources on this planet, and we can divert our brain power from certain tasks which robots can do and then educate ourselves and adapt to something more, harder for robots to do, right? Sure. So I still feel like we should definitely use this technology in order to potentially, not necessarily replace jobs, but as certain jobs are not required as much anymore, people would potentially start educating themselves in different areas, which means obviously back in the day we had loads of smiths, and now we have loads of software engineers, right? Yeah. So it's just kind of like a change in what people do rather than preventing people from having jobs. And have 4-day weeks or 3-day weeks maybe, right? We could be working for 3 days a week and enjoying our life and getting robots to replace that, but still have a decent lifestyle.
Would you share that sentiment, or do you think what's your perspective on it?
Whilst Adrian was saying this, I was thinking that you could also have the situation that in the UK, interestingly, if you speak to a mortgage broker, they will tell you that some of the common reasons for people to claim insurance is because bad back or stress.
Sure.
These are the most common things. So when and if you get into this kind of situation, there might be a possibility that you won't be able to function to your 100%, but that only limits you from certain physical point of view. Mm-hmm. So if we had access to a robot, and as Adrian said, that if to a certain extent we can consider that robot as a tool, just like what a tool we use at home, then that robot can perform those duties for us if they're intelligent enough at that point, and they can still make sure that my paycheck, if I am under that circumstance, my paycheck can still come. So that means that I will not be a financial liability and to my family, and I would have a safer, perhaps, way to exit and go into my retirement and still not compromise. So I was thinking that is not necessarily replace myself, but make sure that I do have a stability within the, let's say, community and the society that I'm part of, which is like, we have a lot of us have 9 to 5 and how the life works. Okay. But that's my perspective on it.
I'll ask you both to rate Sophia. If you could, out of 10 being sentient AI and 1 being a Nokia flip phone or something, pick up the sheet and just hold it up in front of you and the camera will get it. Let's see what we get. Got a 3. Don't let that influence you though. You be independent. What do you got? Okay, we got 8. Okay, 8 out of 30. You've got some work to do, Sophia, but let's see what happens over the next couple of years ahead. Okay, so next robot I'm going to show you is called Amica by Engineered Arts, and this is 1 year later, so last year in 2021. So let's watch this and we'll get your perspective. Okay. So no skin on this one. but the eyes and the facial expressions, it's kind of I don't know. It's weird to watch, in my opinion. The blinking really does it for me, because it's obviously it's coded this way, but it's blinking like a human would. Okay, that's Amica by Engineered Arts last year. What do you think when you see this, Adrian?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's the main reason why they're. I mean, obviously, their idea is that they want to replace, create a robot which looks like a human, right? But what's the best use of that? Because I don't know, a therapist, would that be potentially the best way? Because, right? I mean, why would you? If we look at robots as tools, what would we use that robot for? I don't know.
Any retail, perhaps, serving you your Starbucks, being at the airport, anything that
can't that be replaced with a robot that doesn't look like that?
Yes,
which is cheaper and potentially easier to use, and you know where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah. What about even if there isn't a reason for it? Maybe it's just because. I mean, it's innovation. People are always going to make things faster, better, smarter, smaller.
Yeah. But there has to be kind of potentially a reason for a certain technology, right? I mean, I don't know, if it's a therapist, for example, right?
Yeah.
That could be your way, but isn't there a better solution, let's say VR?
Maybe.
Instead of investing loads of money into that. Because Boston Dynamics, right, they actually have uses of it. You can potentially, their use cases are, building a robot which can transport things and, get into places which humans, it might be dangerous for humans to go and stuff like that. Yeah. But with this, I mean, I do appreciate that they're spending a lot of time on trying to develop this, but I'm just trying to find the best use cases for this, which can't be replaced with better, quicker, simpler, and cheaper solutions, right?
Sure, I get what you're saying. What do you think, Manna, when you see this video?
So there are two ways of looking at it. One way is that what Adrian said is that does that provoke any kind of thought in our minds? To say that is this a step towards something bigger? So this isn't necessarily the tool that we're looking for, but this is a way to the tool that we might need.
Sure.
Or is this the tool? And if this is the tool, then how do I make people's lives better with this tool?
Yeah.
So interestingly, just like last time, one of the things I have just thought about is UK is a very good example where we are constantly having problem that you don't have enough let's say PCSO, the police community support officers, and
that's
and
a very
other
good
place.
use case. Yeah. Or a bad use case, depending on how it goes.
Yes, and one of the things also is that during the night time you cannot open the underground 24/7. Why? Because of the security concerns. Perhaps some of the applications can be taken into account to say that can we accept a particular period of time where they would be governed by the robots, so that they are just there to make sure that things are safe and they're convenient to use. And then they were going to be replaced by the human operators during the early hours in the morning when the tube stations are meant to be open at normal time. Because that, as Adrian was saying, that is this cost effective or not? To me, employing a human being and actually paying for them, that might give a better perspective and say that is this an acceptable way of operating and still making sure that we generate revenue during that time where we could have opened that.
What about the facial expressions? Do you think robots need that? Or do you think it's a cool innovation, or do you think it's just creepy?
I think it's just a nice to have.
Yeah. I mean, it's not essential, is it? But if I could choose between having them and not having them, I'd have them, because it makes me feel a little bit more relaxed in a way. But I don't know, the blinking with the skin would have been cool. The blinking with like that pure white robot face is just kind of terrifying. But we'll see. If you guys had to guess, and I'm using the word guess here, how long until that is is on the street and doing what you described. Are you 5 years, 10 years in our lifetimes? If you had to guess, Adrian, what would you say?
I mean, aren't they already on the street in Japan?
So let's say like in a mass level where it's as common as an iPhone, perhaps, to see one.
This is a pure guess.
Yeah.
8+ years, maybe.
Okay. What do you think?
I was thinking around 15 to 20.
Okay. I've got no idea, but like, who knows? I mean, a decade ago, did we really think we'd have what we have today? No. So, and going back to the law of accelerated returns, it's exponential growth. It doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and by the time you get to 30, you're millions, billions soon. Okay, let's get your rating on this robot out of 10, please. Okay, I've got a 4 and a 5. So we're at 9. So we had 8, went from 8 to 9. So sorry, Sophia. Amika has taken the lead. Hey, I'm interrupting this podcast really quickly to let you know about an exclusive promotion we are running now at Alpha Technology Recruitment. If you're looking to hire software engineers in the UK, then drop us an email right away and mention code podcast in the message. This will give you a special discount on all of your recruitment fees and allow you to scale your software engineering team much faster. Visit welovealpha.com for details. Link is in the description. Cool. So final video, I'm going to show you a robot called Optimus by Elon Musk and Tesla, which was this year. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. Let's have a chat. It's quite a long video, so I'm going to show part of it and skip some of it as well. This is at Tesla AI Day recently. And there, I kind of want to say he is, but there it is, I suppose. I don't know, robots probably can't identify, can they? Gender-wise yet. So obviously this is a lot clunkier than perhaps some of the other ones, but Elon's really trying to get this to mass production. He wants to produce millions of these. And sell them at a fairly affordable price point, which we'll talk about in a second. He revealed this robot in a prank. I think it was like the year before, where he came out dressed as a robot, and then took off for the helmet. Obviously, that's not him. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe Elon's a robot this whole time. He's either a Martian or a robot, right? Okay, so it can walk. It can dance, kind of. I guess that is probably how Elon would dance if he could dance. Okay, and I'll show you what this can be used for. We talk about what's the use case for that. Why is it doing this? Why is it doing this? This one, Elon tends to think practical, right? How do I make money out of this? How do I use this to solve a problem? So here's what this one could do. Okay, so warehouse, for example, common application. That's what the robot's seeing right now through computer vision.
Yeah, we wanted to show a little bit more what we've done over the
And obviously,
you
could have one of these perhaps in an office doing a lot of the boring work, which nobody's interested in.
So this is kind of what I had in mind, right?
Yeah.
In order to have robots everywhere, they need to have some kind of a use, right?
Yeah.
Someone has to purchase it and pay money for it and then use it. And a robot that can do things like lifting, that's useful.
Yes. Yes.
Face expressions, like you said, it's nice to have, but not necessarily mandatory, right?
What about if we just combine the tech? What about if we give this skin, we give this face expressions, it looks like a normal person walking around, so it's a little bit less intimidating. Just combine the three ideas together.
Yeah, that would definitely work. Yeah, that's definitely a great idea.
It's the sort of thing where if we look at it through just, hey, here's one product which is being developed, it almost doesn't make sense. But when you combine them all together, you can see the value potentially. But what do you think of this robot, Manna?
With facial expression, has got a decent, let's say, level of movement that you can almost say that, okay, it's human, it's not doing things too fast, too slow.
Okay.
But then I do, again, agree with what Adrian is saying, that we need to understand where we can use them, and whether or not it's affordable to, let's say, use them for prolonged duration. And another thing which I don't think anyone can say for sure is that whether or not the general population would accept them as a, let's say, like an assistant to their day-to-day lives, or like even if it's in an office, in a shopping center. Interestingly,
You could
robots.
argue though, you've got Siri, you've got Alexa. Isn't that, do you accept that as an assistant?
It is already here, but we are talking about kind of robot.
Sure.
They're kind of,
When you
they
can
don't-
see it, it's different, right?
Yeah, they don't have this humanoid-like appearance. What I was thinking is that the robots do bring an interesting point. They actually open up the possibilities of having more employment in a different direction. So you can perhaps seek employment about doing things around robots.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just recognizing some of these things, and again finding a purpose for them, making sure the general population accepts them.
Yeah. I've heard the
So,
argument,
yeah.
like people are terrified that it's going to replace warehouse jobs or self-driving cars, get rid of Uber drivers, but you then create jobs for developers and data scientists and machine learning experts and so on. It does make sense, in my opinion, for Tesla to, and for Elon to do this under Tesla, and for Tesla to get into robots, because if you think about it, a Tesla is basically a robot already. It's self-driving, it's powered by AI, it's using electricity to power the thing. It's basically a robot. So if I say Tesla could be one of the major robotics makers in 5-10 years, I mean, they already are if you look at it from that perspective. But would that be far-fetched to say, do you think, Adrian, or do you think that would
I mean,
make sense?
isn't this Elon's yet another plan to move to Mars, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
Yes.
the conditions on Mars are going to be horrible for humans, and being able to create robots that can replicate, well, everything that can do what we can do, right? You can just send loads of them there and
Very interesting.
create
yeah.
a settlement. I think that this is probably his partial plan for the colonization of Mars, and so obviously it's going to help us a lot as well. But I can definitely see where there's going to be plenty of people which are going to be against this, because let's say a robot is caring about your mother, and someone decides to hack it and be abusive towards your mother, for example, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
so there's a lot of that. We don't like to be controlled, and this is just another way where things could go wrong, and we could be controlled by a robot, right? You're not going to be stronger than a robot, and imprisoning you in your own house. There's definitely going to be people that have that mentality, right? And so there's definitely a lot of worries in regards to that. But I mean, I would love to have a robot like that. Although I know it's probably not going to be the case of us purchasing that robot and using it. It's probably going to be on like a subscription basis of some sort. Right?
Well, that's the way to keep investors happy. Keep the money pouring in each month. If you think about it and take a step backwards, you could argue that everything Elon is doing is to get us to Mars, because when you go to Mars, there's no plug. You can't just plug something in, right? So he did Solar City to create the solar panels, which would then power things. You then got Teslas, so then you can suddenly move around and drive around. He's doing the Boring Company, so then you can dig underground. It's hot up there. You need to dig underground and build areas where you can actually live. And then you got the robots doing the grunt work and everything else. And obviously SpaceX to take us there. And his vision is to, in his lifetime, send hundreds of people to Mars, where the chances are they'll probably die. And he's said that he's going to sign up to this as well, and he's going for it. And but if you're going to die on Earth, maybe you could die on Mars, and it'll be more fun and pushing the human race forward a little bit more. Would you be open to signing up, going to Mars if you had a ticket, knowing what I've just told you?
If I didn't have to pay any mortgage, sure.
I mean, why would you care about your house when you're never going to come back, right?
Yeah, I'd want to do it if I was a little bit older, because it's not great quality of life over there.
Well, I mean, but think about it, right? I mean, a few years back, I had this, when the first time I heard Elon Musk saying that we're going to go to Mars, I had this mentality where I would love to go. It would be fantastic there. But to be honest with you, it's not like you're not going on holiday, let's face it, right? And the conditions there are not going to be as pleasant as here on Earth, right? So, and I love nature and I love trees and everything kind of around us. So, if I would love to go there for a month, and then come back. If I won't come back, then probably not, because
you probably won't be able to at first.
Yeah,
I mean, I know the rockets can land themselves now, but it's just realistically, you'll probably go and die there. What about from a price point, right? Elon reckons he can sell millions of these, and it will cost less than $20,000 to buy one. Okay, how much is it to employ somebody every single year? You've got to pay a salary. You've got that person takes holidays, and they get sick. They show up late. They complain. They can't work 24/7. And if you've got a robot instead that you can hire and it can work 24/7 and it doesn't need any breaks, and you just need the occasional, I want to say oil change, but not really an oil change in Elon's case, that could cause millions of people to lose jobs. Obviously, like I said, it can create a lot of jobs as well, but it's hard to get a truck driver to start writing in Ruby. It's just realistically, is that person even going to want to do that, or should we require people to? I don't think so. But what do you think of kind of everything I've just said there? $20,000. If they can make that, do you think that will have a big impact on the world?
You almost answered your own question in sort of way that some people would be, am I gonna be useful to the society or not? Am I contributing by any way? Do I want to learn how to write things in Ruby and fix this robot, right? And I still believe that there are immediate use cases, because if you think about the lessons we learned over the last 2 years, we didn't have the provisions for, let's say, controlling chaos and like controlling a completely uncontrollable situation with pandemics and things. And if that thing strikes third time this world, would we wish that we the robots were there?
Yeah,
maybe. And that is probably what we need to do first, to understand, okay, if I'm going to be spending $20,000 to get somebody who is not going to be sick, not going to be complaining, and going to be doing exactly what they're meant to be doing,
sure,
then what will be the use cases? Yeah. And then I believe the answer would be yes, the $20,000 are
people will
very well spent.
I think they will, because a company's job is to make the shareholders money.
Although if they do it incrementally over a period of time, right? So I think in some way this should be kind of like a red flag or warning sign for everyone in a current society, where they should take into account that certain jobs are going to be replaced. So you have, a certain amount of years to potentially start thinking about. I mean, we as a human race, we are very good at adopting, right? So why don't we all kind of have a bit of reflection and think about the fact that soon we're going to have to kind of change. And if you're going to uni and or if you're studying anything, or if you're getting some kind of a profession, I mean, I'm not sure how great robots would be in, I don't know, renovating a house, for example, right? You need a bit of kind of skill, and at the beginning it's definitely not going to be a great quality of work. In saying that, also having robots replacing loads of humans, I mean, we need to have a purpose in life. If we don't, we become depressed. We don't want to, people that don't have a purpose in life, start having addictions, and they don't know what to do with themselves. So, being suicidal and that kind of stuff. So mental health problems, a lot of them, I believe, are caused because of lack of purpose. And if these robots just out of nowhere appear from one year to another without us slowly kind of adopting to the new changes, there's going to be a lot of mental health problems out there for us to deal with.
Well, yeah, if you don't have something to get up each day, a challenge to work towards, something that excites you, then yeah, you spiral. And if I have white space in my calendar, I end up just messing around and doing stuff which is not leading me towards my goals. Okay, what about people that would make the argument that we could free up all the mundane, boring tasks of the world, or the stuff that causes risks to health and safety, and then that gives you time as a person, more time to do more creative endeavors. You can create art and music and enrich the world with beauty, whereas the tech then creates the left brain science and it allows you to to fill in the blanks and fill in the color really with what the robots build. Do you see that as something that could work for people, or do you think some people just too much free time, they wouldn't spend time on those things, they would get addicted to things and
or even spending time with your family, right?
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, I love to occasionally take a day out and go for a hike and just even cut myself out and so I live in Southampton near New Forest, and I often go into New Forest and just go for a walk. And it's nice to kind of unwind a bit. So I feel like having more time, at least if I had a day less every single week, I would definitely utilize it to either improve myself or at least spend time with my friends, family, or even go for a walk by myself. That would definitely help me personally.
Yeah. Okay. What about from your side, Manna? Do you think taking away people's challenge that they have each day could cause problems, or do you think that could potentially free up people to kind of live their true selves?
It has to be a balance from my side. So what I mean is that some people, their purpose, they get bored quite easily. They like a challenge, but they also at the same time like a balance between like doing challenging things and maybe doing mundane things. So it's their way of unwinding from all these things. But as long as we keep a good balance, for example, what Adrian said is that I would probably want to work, I don't know, maximum 4 days a week or 3 days a week. So the 2 other days, if the robot can take over, be that my challenging or mundane task, then I know that those 2 days I can decide whether I want to dedicate 100% to my family, spend quality time, or actually doing something to keep myself happy. Yeah. And even if that means I just want to watch football games,
sure,
or I want to play video games, that's fine. But if my mental health is maintained in that way, so that kind of gets a good balance. That what Adrian also said, that like if we just have everybody doing everything like from the robotic community, then we will see mental health issues possibly. So
not just mental health. You've seen WALL-E, the movie WALL-E? Yeah, that's like the worst example. Everyone's obese and in chairs and just sitting there, and everything is getting done for them. But yeah, what were you going to say? Sorry.
And I kind of agree with this. But I have had this kind of thought: if we did have robots, right, and we managed to kind of implement 4 days a week, 3 days a week, right, and that extra day that people would have on certain jobs, they could take on a hobby. There's certain jobs, and some people might be potentially struggling financially in some sort of jobs, right? That potentially the jobs that will be the first ones to be replaced, right? So if now you pay these people a bit more for 4 days or 3 days a week, and now they have more time, so they could spend that extra day or two on finding a certain hobby which they always wanted to do but didn't have enough money or time to do it, right? So yeah, we could potentially kind of add robots incrementally and then kind of replace what people kind of do with their time within a week. Okay.
All right, let's rate Mr. Musk's robot. Let's rate, what's he called? It was Optimus. We've got 6.
6 as well.
6, we've got 12. So Elon wins. Well done. Well done, Elon. We have Sophia on 8, Amica on 9, and Optimus on 12. Okay. Why do you think Optimus got the most votes?
Well, because I still believe that robots should be a tool, and it looks like this robot is maybe not there yet, but it's going to be able to help us with carrying things or doing things like that. I still feel like facial expressions are nice to have rather than any like proper use case for it.
Okay. Why do you think Optimus won?
I thought that the technological advancement that Tesla has demonstrated, I mean, they have got the biggest problem solved nearly, which is like the longevity of the electrical system. So they've got the the battery solutions, the renewable energy stuff. The robot looks like it's a robot, so it looks like a tool. Facial expression is nice to have, but not like the most critical thing. I believe all in all, this robot has a good chance of succeeding in its purpose.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to go on the 6.
Okay, so final question, same question as I asked to the other robotics panel. Elon actually recently said that he is very concerned about AI and thinks it's a bigger threat to humanity than nuclear weapons, potentially. Are you two at all worried about AI becoming too advanced and then we have a like a Terminator type situation where they develop consciousness, they become sentient? I mean, who knows what consciousness is? Can we replicate it, or is it uniquely biological? But what happens if the computers wake up one day and they don't want to take orders anymore and suddenly they want to be in charge? I mean, realistically, that Optimus robot could probably take you out if it wanted to. No offense.
I mean, isn't that his reasoning behind Neuralink?
Yeah, the chip in your brain.
I've been told. I mean, I don't remember if this is correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard some time ago where the reason why he developed Neuralink was because he went. He had meetings with government representatives of big companies, and he was very against artificial intelligence, and he was really worried about it. So no one listened to him. So he created. Well, he didn't create. He took an idea that was already there, which is Neuralink, in order to kind of give us allow us to use artificial intelligence as a tool. So it's a chip that connects to your brain, right? Yeah. And so we could potentially become smarter. Well, at least use artificial intelligence so it won't imprison us. Using artificial intelligence as a tool via a chip in our brain. And so we will become smarter as humans by using this extra tool within our brain rather than it imprisoning us. Because at the end of the day, I mean, everyone knows the fact that, we as humans, we do unthinkable things and then horrible things to each other. And obviously, if artificial intelligence do that's become big enough, it's just going to control us because the stuff that we do is horrible sometimes to each other.
Yeah, no, you're right in the context. I think he told Obama and his team, it was a couple of presidents ago, and they didn't seem to care about regulation in this area. I mean, they're busy with other things, I suppose. But if you can't beat them, join them, fuse with it. That's what the futurist Ray Kurzweil believes. He believes that we'll ultimately become the machines. We will, when you have an arm a robot arm, because if you're a soldier and you get your arm blown off, you can go and get a robotic arm put on right now, and it's okay. But what happens when that robot arm becomes better than a human arm, and you can reach across the table and grab a glass of water, or you can get legs which you can run twice as fast? Will people then upgrade themselves intentionally, perhaps? And then obviously Neuralink being the final piece of that puzzle and doing it with the brain.
I actually have a friend that had some kind of knee problems. He actually had a surgery on them. Okay. And he actually got frustrated because he was in pain a bit, right? And he, I think he said it as a bit of a joke, to be honest with you, but he said that it would be great for him to be able to just cut his legs off and have a robotic leg because his knees was hurting at that point, right? And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people to even have healthy legs and healthy limbs, and they're just going to choose a robotic arm or just because it's easier for them. Yeah. There's plenty of people that are going to do that. I'm definitely sure about that.
If you can get a heart which makes you live twice as long, I mean, well,
that's already there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are, obviously there's lots of cons to this, from religious, views to just in terms of managing the human population and whatnot. But getting back to my previous question, Anna, what's your take on, is Elon potentially right in this? Could we be in a situation where computers become sentient and then suddenly we're no longer in charge?
It depends on the regulations and control, and you're quite right in saying that if something is not on fire, why try and put insurance against it, right? So that's why probably he wasn't taken seriously. Where I'm standing, it's very difficult to actually say that I don't or I do trust that the artificial intelligence becomes sentient enough to take control. But I will say that we have to have a human or a group of human controllers behind these things as a safety measure at all times if we want this thing to succeed the way we want them to succeed, because otherwise it actually brings questions on our accountability. So that we, because these machines are, I mean, in my mind, they are always going to be things that we humans have built, we have built. So if we don't take accountability for the things that we do, and as Adrian said, that like we already do so many horrible things to ourselves, and this is just going to be another item in the list. But the impact of this is going to be unthinkable. Yeah.
If there's millions of these in the world, and they get hacked, and then the code tells them to attack any human, it's got the computer vision, it could see that. Could that be a possibility?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I have this theory. So Neuralink, right? Sure. There's these talks, and I've heard. I'm not sure if it's Elon that mentioned this, but the possibilities of you potentially being able to communicate via that device with someone else, or maybe even accessing their memories or storing your memories, right? Aren't we becoming like a single organism? Because imagine if every single human being had that device and we were able to do that, which I'm not sure if we will be able in the future, but if that is the case, right? Aren't we like a single brain in some kind of way?
So you're saying we're the caterpillar and the technology is the cocoon, and when we fuse them together, we get the butterfly.
Yeah, in some way, right? We'll be able to potentially control robots, all of our, because if I can access your memories and everything that's stored on your kind of chip or your brain, and you can do the same thing to me, then we're kind of like a same organism, right? Yeah. In some way, right? The same processing power. And so we could be able to use and connect that to robots, and then we would be able to control robots with our mind in some way, right? So yes, that's true. And there's obviously going to be people which could potentially hack these robots. But I think it's an interesting subject, right? Because I think security is going to be quite an interesting subject soon, where quantum computers are going to become something that you can purchase yourself, right? They're very expensive now, but all of the encryption, all of the passwords and everything that's there, that's going to there's going to have to be a new some kind of a security protocols in order to kind of ensure that we're not vulnerable. However, how many people are going to have these quantum computers at the beginning, right?
Yeah. You mentioned a minute ago, Manna, about humans need to regulate these robots. What happens if it becomes so advanced that it can write its own code? Right now, we write the code that determines what the robot does. What happens if the robot decides to change that and it's now in control and the regulation doesn't work because the robot's the one that makes the decisions? Do you see that as a possibility potentially?
Yes and no, just like anything that has a 50-50 possibility. One of the things that I think we can think about is that we have watched 3 videos over the last kind of half an hour, 40 minutes. But one of the things that we probably, let's say, could take a lesson from is that now that we have seen how a full robot looks like, are we still interested to have a micro version of this robot doing more useful things and have macro impact and maintain security and the regulations? Or do we really want one of them in homes and
Sure.
offices. Because if you made an interesting point about the hearts, right? If you really had a robotic heart, which I don't know how it's gonna really code itself,
Sure,
but
sure.
if it could actually reduce your, let's say, heart disease, possibility to, I don't know, something to near to zero. So, and also if it kind of, finds a way to genetically repair certain things within you, wouldn't that answer a lot of, let's say, worrying questions for like the parents, and then make sure that the human race actually advances in a much more, let's say, I don't know, gratifying way. So I would probably think like that as well, that, we shouldn't probably dismiss it completely. But yes, 50-50 is, I would say 50-50 is the chance that it might take control, it might not.
There is the worry that if you have millions and millions of people with robotic hearts, what if they get hacked? And what if they get turned off? I think to summarize the discussion today, I think this tech has the potential to either completely change the world for the good or we'll destroy ourselves. And it's probably not going to take too long for us to find out the answer. So this episode will either age amazingly or there'll be no one left to watch it.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. We pray. Mr. Musk, please figure out a way to make them all nice and kind to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, perhaps think of tweeting about it.
Yeah, you could tweet about it. Okay, cool. Well, thank you both for coming back on. It was great to get your perspective and into what's happening in the world of humanoid robots. For those watching, if you're not already, please follow us on Spotify for all the latest episodes, where we've got panels at the moment coming out on everything from virtual reality to what's happening in big tech with the layoffs at Twitter and Meta and Snapchat and so on. So please check out the podcast. And if you are an engineering manager, a hiring leader, and you're looking to hire the best front-end, full-stack and back-end programmers out there across Java, .NET, Python, PHP, iOS, Android and more, then welovealpha.com. Cool. Thank you both.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Awesome.
Imagine if you were able to hire the next Elon Musk. Or if you got a job at Facebook, back when it was just a startup. Well, these people and these opportunities, they are still out there, and we have access to them. Access to all of them. At Alpha Technology, we specialise in software development recruitment across London and the UK. From React to Java to C# and more. We represent the best front-end, back-end, and full-stack engineers on the market. This includes top developers from Meta, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, and more. Our clients operate across AI, blockchain, VR, AR, fintech, edtech, health tech, and more. From startups to global enterprises and everything in between. But Alpha isn't just a recruitment agency. We are also a tech community. We host podcasts, run meetup events, and lead ED&I initiatives, supporting women in technology, BAME individuals, and the Tech for Good ecosystem. So, if you're a company looking to hire software engineers, or if you're a developer open to new opportunities yourself, then we are here to help. Alpha Technology. Recruiting for the future.